Welcome to the Heroes Headquarters, Heroes Journal Warehouse. We don't have a name for it yet.
We need to work on that.
It's basically a glorified garage that we've turned into a beautiful, fully functioning, organized, safe warehouse. This is the place where we fulfill all of our orders. We store all of our orders here. There's more space than you can see here, but this is our new warehouse, and we're really proud of it.
When we met our landlord, Mark, we walked into his office and there was full of crazy, like medieval stuff. There were swords, there was a crazy door, and we knew that this was the place that we wanted to house not just all the creative energy of the Heroes Journal, but also our inventory. We wanted to ship our journals out of a place that was just as magical as the journal itself. It's really hard to find like a good space to store all your inventory in Seattle. Everyone's kind of like shoulder to shoulder. We actually thought about not even doing the whole warehouse headquarters thing. We were looking at other 3PLs and people to fulfill our journals for us. It was Memorial Day, and I sat down Nick and I was like, we have to decide today if we're going to get a space to ship journals ourselves, or we're gonna find a partner to ship things through. And we actually found this place about like a quarter mile from where we were already living, and it was wild. We got here, we saw these super high ceilings. We were like, how on earth would someone only use this for a garage? I think the landlord actually wanted to turn that into a room at one point. We're glad he didn't, because we were able to build these super tall shelves and turn this normal garage into an epic warehouse for us to fulfill orders out of.
It's true. I mean, yeah, like I was saying, moving into this space wasn't just about housing the business somewhere else. It was really a pretty conscious and kind of risky decision to go from outsourcing all of our fulfillment and storage and basically having strangers pack our journals and ship them out, to bringing it back in-house, doing it ourselves, putting on all the labels, putting all the journals and bubble mailers, everything, all happening here in one space. Which, if you ask any business person, will say that that is a step backwards. But honestly, after doing that for about 3 months, we kind of realized that the customer experience, that the heroes that use these journals, were having a worse time ordering them and receiving them. And so instead of scaling up or turning up the heat, we decided to slow down a little bit to improve that customer experience, make sure that it's still what we want it to be before we try and grow. So it was a big lesson for us. It was kind of humbling, and I actually am really proud of our ability to kind of like take a step back, even though we're able to sell faster when someone else is fulfilling them, to prioritize the experience of our customers over faster, more efficient systems and processes.
So over the course of running the Heroes Journal, we've had to make a lot of big bets. We've had to, decide on running the Kickstarter in general, way back in the early part. We then started to scale up inventory, went from 1,000 journals to 2,000 journals to 3,000 journals to 6,000 journals. And most recently, we made the biggest bet we had ever made, which was 20,000 journals. We decided that we wanted to have inventory for a long time and not run out like we had in the past. And there's a lot more logistics that go around 20,000 versus like 3,000. We had to decide where are we gonna put these things. And we had a pretty good idea that we'd be able to fit them in this garage, but we didn't actually know for sure if they would fit.
So when we walked into this garage, that's pretty much what it was. People were using it to park in, and we knew that we had no intentions of using it as a garage. So we had to essentially buy all the shelving, make sure that it fit correctly, and make sure it was going to be able to hold the weight and store things safely, as well as give us, the maximum amount of storage space and the maximum amount of usability in the garage.
A really quick question for you. How many shelves like this have you bought in your life?
Zero.
Zero shelves.
Yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking, because I mean, this isn't like pallet racking, like the kind of shelving you see at like Costco or something. This is like glorified garage shelving, and we basically had to like buy them, build them, make sure they all fit, and make sure they all like held all the weight requirements. So that took hours and hours of learning and studying. It's just one of the random things you end up doing as an entrepreneur, starting your own thing. I never would have believed it if someone told me that a year ago. Like I was gonna have to know everything about garage shelving, not pallet racking, garage shelving. But now I do. And we built all these shelves, and we've made a pretty decent workflow. We also have a couple of work tables here. It's right up against the garages. So when FedEx comes, we just open the garages and hand them off the packages. So
Yeah, and this is the scariest part about being in our situation, is that we have to use that ladder to get the upper shelves, and we had to build the ladder ourselves, which is like twofold one of the scariest parts, right? Because you're suspended 7 feet in the air or whatnot, and it's on like whether or not you did a good job. And
We built it. So
yeah, there wasn't anyone here being like, hey, you did a good job. It was like, well, it hasn't fallen over yet.
It's true. We've had no problems. We are
So far-
we are good. We're compliant. We're safe.
Compliant,
We're,
but
we're
it was
surviving.
scary
It
at
was scary.
first. So as we get more used to being a glorified shipping company at this point, we have a lot of inventory here. We have to get more streamlined. We were not prepared for the 20,000 journals to actually arrive at the Heroes headquarters. We pretty much had a truck park outside on the street, which is probably about 30 feet down the road. We have a pretty long driveway, and we had to carry each box from the truck into the garage. Fortunately, we had about 8 people total working on this project. It took us 4 hours with no breaks to carry in around 1,760 boxes from the street into the warehouse. Each one weighs about 15 pounds. So that was that was a wake up moment where you have to have things like pallet jacks and better dollies to help carry things in and make things more efficient.
Tools. You need tools like
Yes, tools.
Turns out.
Yeah. So that was it was like almost traumatic. Everyone at the end of the day kind of looked at each other wide-eyed and was like, I cannot believe that just happened. It started raining at one point.
It was hard work. It was hard work. We had no help. The truck pulled up. We hopped into the back of the truck, started pulling out what ended up being about 1,800 boxes of journals. There's 12 journals in a box. So however many journals that works out to, that's how many are in this garage, safely stored correctly, and with a little bit of breathing room too, which is nice.
Yeah.
We did a good job, but it was hard.
But tools are helpful. There are a couple things that Nick and I have learned. We've been actually working together on this project for about 3 years now, and there are a couple key things that we need in order to be efficient. Number one, most obviously, is being a clean space. We need to be able to move into a place and our brains aren't running and racing around. Where are the things that we need? How do I get to there? Am I tripping over stuff? That has always been like a recipe for disaster for us. So we wanted to make sure that this space was very, very clean. We've had some help from some people to come in and help us organize stuff and make sure it's perfect and clean. But that is the most important part about this warehouse space. But yeah, and I think like you'd probably be able to talk about this better, but like the logical nature of like where things are placed.
Yeah, it's more than like any activity I think that we do in the business. Having a space to work with that's like organized and controlled in a way, it really helps you be more efficient. Because the mistakes that are made, it's not like it's not like boxes are falling on people or people like cutting their fingers off. It's none of that. The mistakes that are made are people lose track of what they're doing. They lose track of where things are, and then customers end up getting the wrong journal, or they end up getting the wrong quantity. It ends up getting sent to the wrong address. There's all these really small details that are easy to overlook. And the way that you nail those details is you control what you can control by making it as simple as possible. So you try and use basically as little brain power as you have to while you're packing. And the way you do that on the front end is by making things organized, labeling everything clearly. Like if you look through the warehouse, there's like sticky notes on everything, super specific with a date, how many of whatever is packed there, when it was packed, all that stuff. So making a simplified workspace to really, minimize the amount of brain power you have to use to pack certain packages is like the key to success, and keeping it very clean.
On any given day, we are trying to, I'm gonna be really cheesy here, but we're trying to get about 100 heroes on their quest, which means we're doing about 80 to 100 shipments every single day. And that is actually a relatively large undertaking, because it's not just putting a journal in an envelope and putting a label on it. It's putting a journal and making sure that it's secure, it's safe, it's waterproofed as well as we can waterproof it, and make sure that it's actually capable to handle the journey so that it shows up on the hero's doorstep and just as beautiful as it left ours. So on a daily basis, what it looks like is it's coming in here, getting a list of all the things we need to pack for the day, making sure that all of the information is clear, all the addresses are correct, making sure that we have enough packing supplies such as bubble mailers, envelopes. On some days we have to have packing paper and like bubble wrap, things like that, in order to make sure that all of the packages are immobilized. And on top of that, you want to make sure everything is organized as you pack it. You want to label everything so that when you go back at the end of the day to print the packing labels, you're able to get them into FedEx cleanly and efficiently so they can take them off and get them on their next leg of the journey.
It's true. Something you learn pretty quick about packing is it's not as much about padding as you might think it is. It's more about immobilizing something. I think you learned that in like 5th grade when you drop the egg off the roof. Do you have to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's kind of what we try and focus on. It's not about having a super soft inside of a package as much as just making sure it doesn't move around. I actually have a story. I remember the first time. This is actually crazy. I remember because we actually worked at the same job before we quit our full-time jobs to do this. I remember getting our first sale that wasn't Kickstarter. Came through like our store. I was super excited. Like we weren't even running any ads at the time, so I don't even know how this person found out about us. Anyway, this person ordered a journal. I remember they lived in Maine. Maybe it was Baltimore. I don't remember. But they lived somewhere on the East Coast. We pack a journal. This was even before we had boxes. It was just literal journals in like a box. We sent it. We got an email like a week later, and they're like, "Hey, the postman left my journal out on my porch and it rained and the journal got soaked. It ruined the journal. Like, I'm really bummed." So we ended up sending them a new one, but we learned a lesson on our first order ever to waterproof things and always make sure that even if the person delivering the actual journal doesn't do their job very well, that we did our job well enough that the journal gets there safely and that the quest can continue uninhibited by the elements. Well, thank you for watching that quick video on our warehouse. We're really excited to send a whole bunch of journals out of this very place to you. So if you place an order on our website anytime soon, we will be packing it with our hands and putting a label on it, and it will show up to you. So thanks for shopping with a small business. It was Small Business Saturday this last week, and we really appreciate it. So thanks for keeping us alive even during a global pandemic.
Yeah, and if you like this video or you want to hear more about our thoughts about running the small business, we also have a podcast on our YouTube channel, as well as we do weekly videos about fandoms and journaling things, as well as different ideas that help keep us going through this pandemic and I guess and beyond.
Yeah.
So if you like what you see here, go ahead and subscribe, give us a like on the video, and we will see you next week.